Hello, I'm Luca De Rio of Render Academy, and I want to show you how the Proxies works inside 3ds Max. So here I have a very heavy model, and you can see I have this plant, and the total amount of polygon is more than 1 million. So I have a bark that is close to 90,000 polygon, and I have all the leaves that are close to 1 million polygon. So even if the scene is moving quite fast here in my computer, I have really a huge amount of polygon. And if I would think about duplicating this plant 2, 3 or 4, 10 times, everything would be very slow. 3ds Max will freeze and probably it will crash. So it will be very difficult to work and create a proper vegetation for my outdoor rendering using this model. Here I can use the proxies. So according to the renderer that I'm using, I can have different proxies. If you are using V-Ray, you can use V-Ray proxies. And if you are using Mental Ray, you can use Mental Ray proxies. In this lesson, I want to cover the Mental Ray proxy. So I'm going to create the object, and this will be my Mental Ray proxy, whatever name it has. We have to pay special attention to the object that we are going to insert inside the proxy, because we can add only one mesh inside the proxy, and here my plant is composed by 2 elements that I'm selecting. So I need to attach these 2 geometries inside one unique element. I start selecting the bark, and I want to be sure that it's editable poly. Then I select the element, I press Ctrl A to select everything, and under here I am going to set the ID. I want to be sure that the bark has ID number 1. Then I select the leaves, my second object. I select the element, all of them, pressing Ctrl A. And here I want to be sure that the ID is the ID number 2. So now the bark will be known as ID 1, the leaves will be known as ID 2. I select again the bark, I click on Attach, and I click on the leaves. Now I have just one geometry. So this will not be anymore the bark, this will be the plant. I have 2 ID here, and it means that I have just one object, but it can be recognized as 2 elements. Now the position of the plant. I want to be sure that the plant is at the center of the axis. So I right click here, or I can press F12, and I want to be sure that is 0, 0 and 0. I do the same here for the container, the proxy container, just to be sure that everything is done properly. So I right click here and here, so I force everything to be 0. Now I need to insert the object, so the plant here inside the proxy. So I click on None, and I click on my plant. Now, as you can see, the plant is inserted inside my object. I have option here, so he asked me how many viewport display I want to see in my resort. I can add here 500. Nothing will change because I need to bake. I need to save this proxy in a file. So I click here, I move on my desktop, and I'm recording inside my folder of the proxies, and this will be plant proxy. I click on Save. He asked me if I have an animation or if I want to save the current frame. I want to be sure to save just the current frame because I have this non-deforming element. And I want to include only the source, so everything will be hidden, and automatic zoom on extent for creating this preview. I click on OK. It will take few seconds because he's going to render the preview. Yeah, you saw that he rendered quite quickly this nice looking preview. And here I have my proxy. So this is the number that I can use to define. Now in my viewport I have 500 vertices instead of 1 million of them. This is very cool. So I have my proxy, and this is the baking of the proxy. Now let me create a new file. So I'm going to reset my scene, and here we go. I am in a new file. So I can insert my floor, I create my plane, and I want to have 1 meter by 1 meter, and I place it in the center just to be sure. I'm going to put the proxy over here. Now, as I did before, I select Mental Ray proxy, and somewhere in the space I create this cube. And instead of writing the object, of course, now I need to load my proxy. So from here, from the modify, in the proxy file, I click, and he's informing me that the renderer should be mentarray. So because I resetted the scene, yes, I have V-Ray, so I'm going to select mentarray. Now I select my proxy. Here I load my file, the MIB that was saved before, open, and I can see this nice preview. I can have 500 dots. They should be somewhere in the space. The plant was huge, so I can scale my plant. I can use this scale option. I know that we can use this one, but I prefer to keep this scale to 100%, and I'm going to scale it using this one. So let me use 1/4 of the original dimension, and this is my plant inside the scene. Of course, I can't see the wireframe, but give a look at the amount of polygon. I have 32 polygons, probably because this plane is creating a lot of them. So if I'm going to render now, I can find here my cool plant, and of course it's a 3D plant. So I'm not rendering the flat object, but it's the real 3D plant loaded from the external data file. So I needed this plane just to have an idea of the proportion of what I'm working. Now you may ask about the material. How can I apply the material to my object? It's very simple. I need to open my material editor. I apply the material that I want to use, and I can render. Now, fact is, I can apply only one material because the object is just one, and is my plant that I imported. How can I apply multi-material? Well, the answer is in a new material that is named multi-sub object. So I select this multi-sub object and I rename it in plant material. Now I have my plant material and I can assign it. You remember when I applied the ID numbers here, how many I did? I did 2, one for the trunk and one for the leaves. So I decided to use 2 materials. The first one will be the trunk, the bark, and the second one are the leaves. Now he's requiring me the shader because this multi-sub object is just a container. So as the first one, I assign the arc and design. I remove the reflection. Remember that arc design is built in with this default reflectivity, and we don't want to have our bark to be reflective. So here I have my bark color, and this will be the bark. I can also rename here, this is the name of the shader, this is the name of the label. Then I copy the bark here. I create a copy, not an instance. And this one will be renamed in leaves. And I just change the color so we can see what I'm going to obtain. So I have these 2 elements, I can assign them and render again. The benefit of the and having a proxy element, can be V-Ray or mentarray proxy, I repeat, depend on the render engine that you are going to use, are many. So let me rotate the plants. Now can you imagine how many polygons I would have here if I would be rendering with the plants? So I have the benefit that I can duplicate and create my real own forest. Can you imagine how many million of polygon I could have here? Well, I can tell you, it was 1 million per object. I have 110 objects, so you can multiply them for 1 million. And now I can render all of them. Thank you for watching.